welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC 269, Oliveira versus Poirier. The locks are still hitting, baby. We hit all our locks again last week, but we did struggle with the totals. And I loved Jeremiah Wells as a pick, as a dog, but unfortunately, the fight did get canceled. So, and then we had God, the other dog lost. I don't even remember who it was, but we did put our balls on the table and call Clay Guida, and he came through for us by hook or crook. So I'm gonna take that as a win. So again, it's a pretty good offering here. As far as a pay-per-view goes, it's good. I'm not like foaming at the mouth thinking of this fight card, but it is a very good fight card. So again, 15 fights, so let's not waste a lot of time and jump right into it. So the very, very first fight of the night is a pretty hit or miss one here. We have Jillian Robertson as a minus 365 favorite, and it's getting steamed. It was like minus 400 the last time I checked. I'm going up against Priscilla Cachoeira at plus 270, over under, set at 2.5. Over 2.5 in a women's fight plus money, plus 120, under 2.5 minus 150. That doesn't sound normal, but I totally understand why it's that way for this fight. Let's start with the favorite, Jillian Robertson. She's not the greatest, but she's not terrible. I mean, she's 9-6, but when you really go back and look at her losses, they are to Miranda Maverick is good. Tyler Santos is very good, may be fighting for a title soon. Macy Barber is very good. Mayra Bueno Silva is very good. Like, she's losing to Cynthia Calvillo is very good. And the Goldie, not so much, but that was her very first fight. So, I mean, she has wins over Cheyenne Bays, aka Cheyenne Vismus, that we just saw last week dominate on the as an amateur. I mean, honestly, she's only lost to UFC competition. That's very, very good. Otherwise, her wins aren't the greatest. She basically beats everyone she's supposed to beat. She loses to everyone that she's supposed to lose to. So that takes us to this fight. How does she do so? She has great jiu-jitsu, man. I mean, she's probably top 5 jiu-jitsu in the weight class. She has pretty decent wrestling. I can't say it's great. She takes shots from really far away with no setup. I don't really like that. When she gets in deep, she does finish. So it's just a matter if she can get a hold of you. She's extremely hittable. She gets hit more than she puts out, and that's because she's a terrible striker. She doesn't even try to strike. That's why she's taking those really, really far away shots. So her striking is non-existent. And she has a decent gas tank. It's not the greatest. She's not like a cardio freak like Colby or Clay Guida or something like that, but she can keep up a pace, so slow a touch, but enough to, make it all 3 rounds. So all in all, she's just a grappler, and she knows what her bread and butter is. She doesn't fuck around on the feet. She knows that that's not what she can do, what she should do. So that's not what she does. And I do respect that. Priscilla Cachoeira is the complete opposite. She has, I can't say she has great striking, but she does pack a punch, man. She has some pretty decent power for being a flyweight, a women's flyweight contender. Her wrestling, not so much, not the greatest. It shows a 63% takedown defense in the UFC, but it's pretty bad in all honesty. I'm pretty shocked. Gina Mazzani took her down 4 times and was dominating that fight until she gassed out. And she's a notorious gasser. But it's not as if Priscilla has the greatest cardio herself. She also slows pretty badly. And she's also very hittable as well. I mean, watching her get taken down easily by Gina Mazzani and watching her get taken down by Molly McCann, who's like a British boxer, and did Luana take her down? She might have. Valentina is the flyweight goat, but she's a striker, not a wrestler. She took her down easily. If you shoot a takedown, odds are you're going to take her down, and that's frightening because that's what Jillian wants to do. So if this thing stays on the feet, if Priscilla's able to stuff some takedowns, she's gonna finish. She's gonna finish Jillian on the feet. But if Jillian gets it down to the ground, she's probably gonna tap out Priscilla. That's why the over under is showing the way it is. When it comes to wrestler versus striker, I'll always take the wrestler. So I don't like the odds at -400, but at this rate, I just can't really bet Catchaware. I'd rather bet Jill or pass. But I'd be careful parlaying her. And then the next fight is probably going to be fight of the night, in all honesty. If not the main event, we have Randy Costa, my boy, at at 6-2 and -195 favorite, going up against Tony Kelly at +155. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5, -130. Under 1.5, even money. Let me tell you why. It's because of my boy Randy Costa, baby. He's the coolest guy. Like, I can just watch his interviews. He's just like, I don't know, man. His energy is just infectious. It makes you like happy. He's just so happy to be there. He'll tell you he's only had 10 career fights. Like, he's my age. He's 27. He's a little younger. He's at a great camp. He's at Sanford MMA. The dude hits like a truck. He has great striking. He showed it off against everyone says Adrian Yanez is one of the best boxers in that division in the UFC, and he starched Yanez for the first round before Yanez came back and whooped his ass. But that's the problem with Costa. He's phenomenal in the first round. Probably one of the best 135-pound fighters in the weight class if it was a one-round fight. Problem is, most fights are all fights are 3 to 5. So he has good striking. He has great power. His cardio's the suspect part. Again, I love that they can kind of adjust that at Sanford. He's at a great camp. He has super high volume, like really, really high. Like he hits like 8 significant strikes per minute. It's insane. And he goes forward, man. He's not someone that's going to fight off his back foot. He's going to come right at you. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He's good everywhere. It's just the cardio. That's the problem. Either he puts you out early, or you're gonna, if you can endure the storm, you're gonna take him out because he just has nothing left to give. And Tony Kelly's a grinder, man, and he has great cardio, so it is concerning. It's very good cardio, but he can be backed up, and Costa wants to go forward. Kelly doesn't have a ton of power here. I mean, just looking at his record, and he has some chokes on his record. He has 1 KO in the regional scene. That's it. He's not really a power puncher by any means. I mean, the striking's good. It's just not a ton of power. He has pretty high volume too. But he is hittable. He does get hit a little more, even though he throws a ton. He gets hit a little more than he dishes out. Now, he did drop to 135 for the first time his last fight, and he looked fine. And he got a good win there. I mean, his opponent wasn't the greatest, but he looked good at 135. It was a test he wanted to see. My concern is, on paper, he's durable, but I'm looking back at the Kevin Aguilar fight, he got dropped. The Kai Kamaka fight, he got dropped. Like, it's not unusual for him to go down. He's never been officially put out, but he's also never fought Randy Costa. So if he gets clipped in the first round because he's a slow starter and Randy's a fast starter, that is concerning. So I totally see the value at +155. So I think it's Costa wins round 1. Kelly would win round 3, and round 2 is kind of up in the air. With that being said, it may not get that far though. So I will take Costa as a pick, as a bet. -195 is not the best value, but I can't really justify parlaying him just because of the big drop off after round 1. So I'd pick Costa, and I would just bet him straight up by himself if you want to. But in all honesty, I would probably just pass. All right. And then that takes us to the next fight of the night. It's Grappler's Delight, baby. We got Ryan Hall as a -215 favorite going up against my dude Derek Minner is at +165. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 +115. Under 2.5 -145. Let's start with Hall. I mean, in all honesty, Hall is probably the better striker. It doesn't mean he's a great striker, but he's probably better than Derek Minner. Not a ton of power, but he throws some wild head kicks and spinning back fists and sitting back kicks just because he can, because he wants to go down to the ground. He can't wrestle. He does not have good wrestling whatsoever. So he just throws wild shit so that someone will catch him and take him down, and then he's in his wheelhouse. All he wants to do is be on the ground with you anyway, because he is probably the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in MMA, in all of MMA, in all honesty. This dude is nasty on the ground. What do they call him? The wizard. Yeah, he is a wizard on the ground. But on the feet, even though he throws flashy stuff, it's at a very, very low clip. He's very low volume. His cardio, he does seem to slow a little bit. And I think part of that is the fact that he's 36. We saw that his last fight, he did get knocked out by Ilia Topuria. I mean, Topuria is a freaking beast. I love Topuria. But it is concerning seeing a 36-year-old get knocked out and then to fight again in 5 months. So I am a little concerned about his chin currently. Good news for him is that Derek Minner isn't some sort of like potent finisher on the feet by any means. Derek Minner might be 2 or 3 in all honesty. Like, he's very, very good on the ground. His problem is his gas tank. That's the reason all of his fights. I mean, look at it. He lost to Darren Elkins in the second round because he gassed. He somehow got a decision over Charles Rosa because Charles, even though he was gassed, Charles offered no subs off his back. He just sat there. But the rest of his fights, you look at it, round 1, round 2, round 1, round 1, round 1, round 1, round 2, round 2, round 2, round 1, round 1. That's all it is. He has, like, literally all he does is have his fights finish in the first and second round. So that's another reason why you're going to see the over at plus 115. However, generally speaking, when you have 2 people that are great grapplers like this, it does have a tendency to kind of balance out. So I mean, in all honesty, I'm staring at the over here at plus money, just because they're both so low volume. Even though Derek Minner is going to gas, Ryan Hall has no power whatsoever. So as long as Minner can stay safe, I would say he has a chance. But I also don't want to play that gamble if he gets tired and subbed while on top, taking a sloppy shot or something like that. I could also see that. I love that Minner's with James Krause now, but James Krause can only do so much. So the pick is going to be Hall. The bet, in all honesty, is probably going to be Hall as well, just because he has the advantage on the feet, and in all honesty, he has the advantage on the ground too, and he has a cardio advantage. He just has, even though it's a really, really close fight, he should edge him out every single spot, just barely. So I would bet Hall as well, or just pass, in all honesty. I know I said pass for the first 3. There are a lot of fun fights, but not a lot of great betting opportunities on this card. The next fight is a phenomenal betting opportunity. Well, not phenomenal because I don't like the odds so much, but you want to talk about locks. We have Alex Perez as a minus 325 favorite going up against Matt Schnell at plus 245. I like over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 162. Under 2.5 plus 132. I like a few things here. First and foremost, I like Alex Perez as a fighter. He's pretty exciting. He's a very, very good wrestler. He has really, really strong leg kicks, and he's just strong striking in general. His jiu-jitsu, I believe he's a black belt. He's pretty good. He's solid everywhere. And he's just kind of a forgotten man. He fought for the title, got caught in the guillotine right away by Figgy. And then we haven't seen him since. I mean, that was a lot of canceled bouts. That was back in 2020. We haven't seen this dude in over a year. So he's very, very good, and people are forgetting about him. He does always go forward, which is awesome. I'm not someone that's going to fight going backwards, but Matt Schnell's not someone that's going to push him backwards. So that's perfectly fine. Just not a lot of weaknesses in his game at all, anywhere, in all honesty. You can almost say the same for Schnell. I mean, the only thing I would say about Perez is when he does shoot his doubles, there are times when he leaves his neck out there to get snatched up, and it has been snatched on multiple occasions. Matt Schnell is pretty good on the ground. He has pretty good jiu-jitsu, but I don't think he's going to be the one to catch him. On the feet, Schnell has fast hands. That's the thing that really sticks out. His jabs, his punches are so fast. It's like hard to even see. However, there's no pop on them. It's just a ton of speed, a ton of precision, but no power whatsoever. So it really doesn't get any sort of, it doesn't garner any respect from his opponent, which is concerning because then they walk through and they blast him. And this dude's a little chinny. I mean, he's 15-6. Out of his 6 losses, Pantoja knocked him out. Bontorino was a decision. Hector Sandoval knocked him out. Rob Font knocked him out. Gosh, he got guillotined by Clayton. So he's been finished 4 out of his 6 losses. So it's not unlikely to take this guy out. But he has some good wins. I mean, Oh God, Jonathan Martinez knocked him out, but it was illegal. Man, this dude, he's so good. He's very, very good. I like rooting for Matt Snow. I like him as a person. However, it's just he is finishable, and Alex Perez is probably, I would say, the striking edge. It's probably 50-50. It's going to be it's going to be quality versus quantity on the feet. In regards to the jiu-jitsu, I think it's pretty much a tie as well. Maybe a tiny slight edge to Perez. It's pretty close, but the wrestling's not even close. It's definitely Perez. Um, so if you have someone that has a wrestling advantage, and if you have a wrestling disadvantage and you're chinny, I'm going to take the other guys. So, in all honesty, I like Schnell. I like Perez, but I think Perez might be one of my anchors this week. I don't like him at minus 325. I think it's a little high, especially coming back after a year. But again, it's not a great betting card. So, that's going to have to be one of the lock of the nights. I like Alex Perez a lot here. Speaking of bets that I've officially made, we're looking at Miranda Maverick at minus 140 going up against Aaron Blanchfield at plus 110. Over 2.5 minus 302, steamed a little bit. Under 2.5 plus 232. We're going to go ahead and start with Miranda Fear the Maverick. She's good, man. I'm really sick of this shit. Like they booked, they booked Macy Barber and Miranda Maverick. They booked Macy Barber, and at one point it was going to be Macy Barber and Blanchfield. I know these fights have been going crazy. It was Montana De La Rosa versus Macy Barber, and then Aaron Blanchfield stepped in when De La Rosa got hurt. So then it was Blanchfield versus Barber. Then Barber got hurt and Miranda stepped in, and now it's Miranda versus Blanchfield. But why are all of the young women fighting each other? It's stupid. This is the future of the division. I hate when they do this stuff. Even like I was mad when they did Nunez versus Costa. You had two 27-year-olds that could be something in the next 2 to 3 years here. Why are they fighting already? Let them fight a number one contenders fight. Let them fight for a title if one of them get it. Like, don't make these young people fight each other right now. Miranda Maverick's 24 years old. Aaron Blanchfield's 22. Like, they're going to be around for 10 years. Why do they have to fight so early? But it is what it is. We'll start with Miranda again. I like Miranda a lot. She's very good for 24. She impressed me. I thought I actually had money against her when it came to her versus Jillian, and Jillian's also young, and they made them fight each other. It's annoying. But yeah, she impressed me there. Her striking is getting better. It's still not good, but it is getting better. She's clearly very, very physically strong. I mean, look at her. She has good jiu-jitsu. She has a good jiu-jitsu pedigree. You just don't see her using it a ton here. Her wrestling is a little shaky as well. She does go forward often. I mean, her wrestling's not bad. It's just for someone that is supposed to be so good at jiu-jitsu, you think it would be just a touch better. But she does have good volume. And she's a trainaholic, man. I see her training with Jillian Robertson after she fought her. I see her training with Sarah Alpar. I see her training with like all of the flyweight division. Like she fights you and then she trains with you. And that's good. She's just jumping from camp to camp as a young fighter, garnering a ton of experience. So I actually do like that. The fact that she's training with everyone. Honestly, after this fight, win, lose, or draw, she's going to end up training with Aaron Blanchfield at the end of this. So my concern was her wrestling offensively is fine, but her wrestling defense is questionable. Like Barber took her down pretty easily, and Macy Barber is not a wrestler. And that's where the concern lies. I do have a bet on the dog and Aaron Blanchfield because I think that Miranda and Blanchfield are basically the same fighter. Only difference being, yes, they both go forward, but Aaron has a little bit more pressure. Yes, they're both okay and getting better on the feet, but she has a little bit better stand-up. She's not as strong. She doesn't hit as hard, but she has a few highlight reel knockouts on her record with head kicks. So the technique's pretty good. And Victoria Leonardo is no slouch. She's in the UFC and she's pretty good. So to just head kick her to hell is pretty impressive, especially being so young. They both have okay wrestling, but Blanchfield's wrestling just seems a touch better. Again, Maverick was getting taken down by Macy Barber. They both have good jiu-jitsu. I can't say Blanchfield's is better, but they're both black belts, so it's pretty much a wash. She does pretty well countering as well. So with Maverick, that not being her first love striking, the fact that Blanchfield does so well countering is a little bit of a concern. And Blanchfield is high volume, like really, really high volume. She outstrikes Miranda in this fight, in all honesty, probably. So the odds are, with her being the dog and her being a touch better everywhere, just not as physically strong, it's technique versus strength, and I'll take technique at plus money. So the pick is going to be Blanchfield, and I will have a bet on Blanchfield. She's one of my dog plays of the night. All right, and then the next fight of the night is one that has me torn, man. I don't know what to do with this fight. We have Andre Muniz as a minus 140 favorite going up against Eric Anders at plus 110. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 140. Under 1.5 plus 110. I guess we'll start with Eric Anders. He's decent. He's just an athlete, in all honesty. He's not like the greatest MMA fighter, but he's training hard. He's learning a lot. He's not the youngest. He's 34, but he's starting to take some of his experience to the test here. He moved camps to Fight Ready and has looked great since he went there. I mean, he looked great for the first Aaron Stewart fight. The second one, he just wanted to get his hand raised. His wrestling's okay. He can use it. It's not the greatest, but it's okay. His striking's okay, but he hits pretty hard. I would actually expect him to have a lot more knockouts than he does, but I mean, his striking's okay. He goes forward. He's not the greatest fighter going backwards, but he has a tendency with his frame and how basically gigantic he is. He can be the one pushing to action. His jiu-jitsu is not bad. It's sneaky good. He doesn't use it often. But I believe he's a brown or a black belt, so he knows what's going on down there. He's not a slouch by any means. And he has 76% takedown defense. So you can take him down, but if you're not like an elite wrestler, it could take a few tries there. And that's my concern I have with Andre Muniz. This dude is probably the best jiu-jitsu practitioner. He is the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the middleweight division. He might be the best in the UFC. I know I said that about Ryan Hall, and I said might for him as well, because I was thinking of Andre Muniz. I don't know which one is better at jiu-jitsu, but these two are top. I'll say just top three, irregardless, in the entirety of the UFC. This dude, he has okay wrestling. It's not the worst. It's not the best. It's just okay. And that's where it's concerning to me with Anders. Is he going to be able to take Eric Anders down or not? If he can, Anders is screwed. I know Anders, I just said, is an underrated ground game, but Muniz's top game. Muniz tapped out Jacare Souza, and he was supposed to be the best in jiu-jitsu ever, and Muniz broke his arm. So that's concerning. Bartosz Fabinski suffered the same fate. He ripped his arm off. I mean, in the Contender Series, he took a neck home with a rear naked choke pretty soon here. But that's the thing. His cardio isn't the best. If he can't get Eric Anders down to the ground and gasses himself out doing so, he's probably going to get finished on the feet. My concern is the fact that it's over 1.5. Like that 1.5, if it was set at 2.5, I would bet the under all day. But 1.5 does make me hesitant. Muniz doesn't have the greatest striking. He has decent power, surprisingly, but it's just not very. It's more flash opposed to like substance. I don't know. The only takedown I've ever seen him shoot is a double. I don't like when people that wrestle are one-dimensional, because then it's easy to drill and it's a lot easier to prevent in an actual fight. So if this thing touches the ground, it's Muniz. And Muniz will pull guard. Like, I've seen that multiple times as well. If Anders was bigger plus money, I definitely would take him. Plus 110 is not a ton. Muniz's chin might be a little suspect as well. I mean, you look at his losses. He got knocked out in 50 seconds here. He got knocked out in round 2. Yeah, when he loses, he gets knocked out. Anders hits pretty hard. So I'm going to go dog or pass here. I like Muniz. I just think he's a little overrated. I think his jiu-jitsu is that good, but I think he's a little one-dimensional. I don't like one-dimensional. So I'll take Anders to stop the takedown just because I've only seen Muniz ever shoot a double. If he chain wrestled, I would have to go Muniz. But until he does that, until he does more than just do a blast double, I think Anders might be able to shut that down. And if they're forced to stand, Anders takes his head off. So the pick is going to be Anders and the bet would be Anders. It's dog or pass in this situation. All right, next fight of the night, we have Jordan Wright at plus 255. These odds are off. Going up against Bruno Silva at minus 340. Over under again set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus money, plus 125. Under 1.5 minus 155. And under 1.5, I might still have to take it, even though it's not plus money, mainly because of this man, the Beverly Hills Ninja, Jordan Wright. This dude, he has pretty good like karate striking. He has really good power. My problem with him is his chin and his cardio, because one, we know his chin is bad. We saw him get knocked out by Fluffy Hernandez. Fluffy knocks out nobody, and Fluffy knocked him out in 40 seconds. That's concerning. Then we saw Buckley, who can fight at welterweight and is supposed to be dropping down there, knock him out like 3 times in the course of their fight. I mean, every time he gets touched, he goes out. But that's the thing. He doesn't get touched often, because when you look at his fights, 1 minute, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 seconds, 40 seconds, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. He's fighting scrubs over at Alaska FC. You can't trust anyone that fights at Alaska FC. And you know why? Look at their records. Look at the men he beat. 0-0, 0-0, 0-5, 0-0, 0-21, 0-0, or sorry, 0-10, 0-0, 1-2. That's how he started the first 7 fights of his career. No one had a win. Then he fought someone that was 7-3, so they're real over in the LFA. Cool, right? Then he fights Anthony Hernandez and gets knocked out. It's ruled a no contest because Fluffy was smoking beforehand, but that has nothing to do with your power. A little weed is not steroids, so he got knocked the fuck out in 40 seconds. Then he goes back to LFA and gets a win over someone that's 11-4. It is what it is. He comes to the UFC and beats Ike Villanueva, who was the worst person in that weight class. Then he gets knocked out by a welterweight. Then he knocks out Jamie Pickett in a minute, and that's tough to do. Jamie Pickett's known for being durable. He's not the greatest fighter, but his chin's supposed to be good, and he took him out. So that's impressive. And now we're back at Bruno Silva. I don't know what his cardio is like, because his fights don't make it out of round 1, and the only one that did lasted 18 seconds into the round. So I don't know what his cardio is like. It concerns me. I know he has pretty good counters, which is going to be good going up against Bruno Silva, because Bruno Silva is a tank. I know he's won like 6 straight fights. He has really good striking. He hits like a truck. If he touches you, you go out. He carries it. I mean, his last fight against Andrew Sanchez, I literally thought he's going to struggle for the first round and then come in and dominate. He struggled for the first 2 rounds, looked a little tired, but still got the knockout in the 3rd round. His power carried over into the later rounds. His jiu-jitsu, it used to be that you could take him out and tap him out. Just take him down and tap him out. Got Kimura. He got, let's see, 2, 3, 4. I know his first 6 losses, or first 4 or 6, I can't remember, were all by submission. He has lost. He's 21-6. So his first 4 were all by submission. You take him down and you tap him out. But he's gotten better at it. I believe he received a black belt recently. So he addressed the issue he had, which I like. His regional scene career was over against Russians at M1, and that's a really good. I like people that fight at CFFC. I like people that fight at M1. Those are good regional scenes to be at. So he was battle tested and he was doing his thing over there. He's just overall a better striker. He overall has the same amount of power, probably, but he actually has a chin. Unlike Jordan Wright, who can get tapped, who can get knocked out by submission artists in 40 seconds. So I do like the under. It's going to matter. It might be a matter of who clips who first because they both had the power. We all know that Bruno Silva can take him out with literally a finger, but at the same time, he's got to land it. Jordan Wright can put his lights out. So that's why the under is the way it is. I don't like minus 340. I took a look at Jordan Wright betting him, and then I remembered his chin and the fact that his nickname is the Beverly Hills Ninja. I can't put money on that guy. So that pick is going to be Bruno in the bet, even though it's a little rough being the favorite at under 1.5. I would probably have to bet that. It's not going to take long. Speaking of fights that may not take long, we have one that I used to be 50-50 on, but I kind of chose a side here. We have Augusta Sakai, minus 115, going against Tai Tuivasa, minus 115, straight pick 'em. Over under, set at 1.5. Over 1.5, minus 140. Under 1.5 at plus 110. Let's start with Sakai. He has good striking. He does. He has really good striking. Cardio is a little suspect. He does slow a little, but his last fight, or not his last fight, he got knocked out by Rosenstruck. The fight before that against Overeem, he dominated. I know Overeem was trying to do a little rope-a-dope action, but he was putting it on him, and he was putting a ton of volume out there, and he just completely gassed in the 4th round. And then the 5th round, he could barely move, and Overeem just like tripped him and just threw a few punches on top, and Sakai couldn't do anything. But that's the thing. That's a 5-round fight. If it was 3 rounds, he would have won like dirty 26. He dominated Overeem the first 3. I know that was part of Overeem's strategy, but again, his striking was crisp. He has decent power himself. He can be backed up a little, but again, he has pretty high volume. So I did kind of grow on him. Originally, I was going to bet Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa is pretty good striking. I do think he hits a little harder than Sakai, but his cardio is kind of poor too. And he has decent volume for a heavyweight. So I originally thought it was kind of the same fighter, just one hits a touch harder in Tai Tuivasa. But looking at Tai Tuivasa and his losses, I don't know, man. His last fight, Greg Hardy rocked him badly, and he was going out, and then he clipped Greg coming in, trying to rush the finish. Otherwise, he was about to get knocked out by Greg Hardy. His other win was against Harry Hunsucker. He should not be in the UFC. And then Stefan Struve, who is no longer in the UFC. So his little 3-fight win streak is very, very questionable. One where he got rocked, and then 2 that aren't in the promotion, or one that shouldn't be in, one that is not. So I don't know. He slowed and got knocked out by JDS in the 2nd. I know JDS is a lot better than Augusta Sakai at that point, but he did start to slow, which was the start of the end, and that was the 2nd round. So Sakai has at least 2 rounds of cardio in him. So I completely flipped. I don't feel great about it, but the pick is going to be Sakai, and the bet is going to wind up being Sakai as well. Then the next fight of the night, we have one of my favorite fighters of all time. We have Dominic, the Dominator Cruz, going up against a dude I like in Pedro Munoz. Straight pick 'em odds right now at minus 115 each. Over 2.5 is minus 215, under 2.5 at plus 165. Let's start with Pedro. He has devastating leg kicks, pretty good striking overall, but Cruz did say in a recent interview it's kind of pedestrian, and I guess I can kind of agree now that I'm looking at it. He is pretty hittable. He loves to get into firefights, and he leaves himself kind of vulnerable as he's going after you. The big number here is 80% takedown defense, because we know Cruz loves to get takedowns. So if he can't take down Munoz and it's just a straight striking affair, that'd be pretty interesting. Munoz is pretty durable. I don't know the last time he's been knocked out, if ever. He is pretty decent. He has okay power. I mean, he knocked out Garbrandt. I don't know if that was more or less Garbrandt's chin, or he knocked out Brian Caraway as well. He'll catch you. If he catches you in the right place, he'll take you out. He's a black belt, so he's pretty good on the ground as well. He's a beast, man. Pretty high volume. But again, he has 80% takedown defense, but Jimmy Rivera is a pretty decent wrestler. He took him down. Aljo is a pretty good wrestler. He took him down. Frankie Edgar is a pretty good wrestler. He took him down. So the common theme is, he has pretty good takedown defense when he's fighting people that aren't going to try. Like Jose Aldo isn't a wrestler. Brian Caraway isn't a wrestler. Cody Garbrandt is, but refuses to. John Dotson's not a wrestler. Rob Font's not a wrestler. Like if any of Justin Scoggins, if any of these people are going for takedowns, it's not their, it's not their first love. So it's not like it's going to be the easiest thing in the world for a striker to take you down. So I think his 80% takedown defense is a little skewed. It's going to have to be for Cruz to win. I do like Cruz a lot. He has great cardio, even though he's a little older now. He did slow a little. He's not as fast as he used to be. His cardio, it's still there. He doesn't gas by any means, but you can slow him down a touch with him being 36 years old. But he has great wrestling, really good striking. He's super durable. He's only been knocked out once in his career, and it was a questionable one. He a lot of side movement, and that's going to be the differentiator in the fight. If they are forced to stand up, Munoz loves getting his offense started with those leg kicks. But if Dom isn't there for him to kick, that is going to be an issue. The problem is, I don't know which is going to happen. Is Dom going to be able to develop a game plan to avoid the kicks, or is Pedro going to slow down Dom and make him a sitting target with the kicks? I don't know. Is Dom going to try to neutralize the kicks by getting a takedown? Is he able to get a takedown? There's a lot of questions here. So I was just going to do dog or pass, but it's a straight pick. So I'll trust the brain. It's not as if Munoz is a super young fighter. I'm going to say Munoz is like 33, 34 himself. How old is Pedro Munoz? So just take a quick gander here. Yeah, Cruz is 36, but Pedro is 35. It's only a year difference. So I'll take the Dominator. I think he can get one more when he gets to the upper end of bantamweight. When he starts fighting the Marabs and stuff, he might be I think he beats Marab, but when he starts fighting like Aljo and stuff like that, it might get a little bit trickier. But as of right now for Pedro, I think that's the last spot where he can do. So give me the Dominator to get another victory, and it's probably going to be greasy. I really like the over here. Minus 215 is not the worst odds in the world. So the pick is Cruz, but the bet, in all honesty, is just to bet the over. That's almost guaranteed money. All right, and then the next fight of the night is it's the prelim headliner. We have Josh Emmett going up against Dan Ige. Dan Ige is a plus 135 dog. Josh Emmett minus 170. Over 2.5 minus 190. Under 2.5 plus 150. Let's start with Josh Emmett. Dude hits hard. Basically, that's Josh Emmett in a nutshell. I mean, look at him. This dude has good striking. He has pretty decent wrestling. He does train over at Alpha Male, so his takedown defense is pretty good. He is pretty hittable. He hits like a truck, and he hits you probably go out. But in doing so, he kind of leaves himself liable to get hit as well. And he can be backed up a little bit. I mean, he's fine getting backed up. Like he can strike going backwards. Not everyone can. But again, he has knockout power in both hands. He's knocked out people with his left. He's knocked out people with his right. Doesn't matter. And he's super durable. I know Jeremy Stevens took him out. I mean, Little Heathen hits hard. Otherwise, I don't see any other finishes there for him. So, he's pretty durable, hits pretty hard, and can wrestle his ass off. That's about all we got here. I have no idea what his ground game is like. I know Ige is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We don't see it often because he doesn't have the greatest wrestling. So I think this is going to be predominantly a stand-up affair. And Ige's good on the feet, man. And he's also pretty durable. I mean, last time he's been knocked out was never. He's never been knocked out. He's only lost decisions. So he's super durable. Again, he definitely has a clear jiu-jitsu edge. I just don't think he has the wrestling to get it there. So on the feet, we're looking at volume versus power. We're looking at quantity versus quality. And Ige's almost hittable himself. So how much punishment can he take before he goes out coming from Emmett? He has good cardio, especially for 3 rounds. Emmett has good cardio too, and he'll slow down a little, but it's still pretty good. And his last fight where it looked like he was slowing down, he also tore his ACL and still beat Shane Burgos with the torn ACL. So I don't know if some of that attributed to him looking like he was slowing down, the fact that he literally had a torn ACL. So all the respect in the world to Josh Emmett, all the respect in the world to Dan Ige. Ige's also a slow starter, but Emmett again hasn't fought anyone in that last fight was over a year ago. It's about a year and a half. And the last time Emmett took a year and a half off, he came back, he fought Michael Johnson, and he got his ass whooped. And then he caught Michael Johnson in the third round and put his lights out. So we've seen him on a long layoff get his ass whooped for a while here. It could happen again. I think it's a 50-50 fight, and you're giving me plus money on Ige. So the pick will be Ige. The bet's going to be Ige only because it's dog or pass. All right. And then that takes us to the main card. Again, we're going to put all our official picks over on Twitter, over on Instagram, and or TikTok game. The TikTok game is grinding right now. Getting a lot of likes there. Make sure you hit a like on this video as well. Just keep the brand going. But yeah, we're into the main card here. And it gets kicked off with Sugar Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show, minus 315 going up against Julian Paiva at plus 235. Over 2.5 is even money. Under 2.5 minus 130. I think the odds are off. O'Malley's good. O'Malley probably wins this fight. He's not going to dominate and look like a minus 315 favorite. This fight's going to be greasy. I know Sean wanted this fight after Paiva just beat Kyler Phillips, which is Sean O'Malley's training partner. I personally think that was a draw. Kyler killed him the first round. He had 3 knockdowns, almost had the fight finished multiple times. It should have been a 10-8. No matter what, that's a 10-8 round. And then he gassed himself out trying to finish him. And then Paiva came back and won the next 2. So all the credit in the world to Paiva for hanging in there. But I don't know, that fight could have been stopped in the first round. And Sugar's definitely going to try to do so. First, being such a skinny guy, he does pack some serious power. He has sneaky good jiu-jitsu. He has, I love his feint game, man. With the way he just feints punches and then hits you with a hook or a jab. It's pretty legit. I personally aren't the biggest Sean O'Malley fan, but his fighting, the kid's talented. Really high volume. He has a 3-inch reach advantage here. So again, his main training partner's already fought Julian Paiva, so he's able to kind of give him the ins and outs. Julian Paiva himself, Sean O'Malley has some pretty sneaky jiu-jitsu. I think he's like a purple belt or brown belt or so, but Paiva is a black belt. My thing is he's coming up from 25. He was pretty dominant down there at flyweight, but he had some weight issues, so he decided to finally just make the move up to 35. And he's pretty young, so his frame is probably filling out. But again, he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage here. Paiva's super hittable. He gets hit more than he dishes out, so that's a little concerning, especially fighting someone like O'Malley, who's just a striker. Paiva loves to go forward, and O'Malley can fight going backwards or he can fight going forward, so that doesn't really matter here. Paiva's cardio is pretty good, like I said. I've seen it be kind of run down a little, and I've also seen it his last fight where he got dominated the first round and still had juice to win round 2 and 3. And I think part of that is him going up to 35. I think he was just killing his body going down to 25. So that being said, I will give the wrestling is where it comes down to, because Sugar Sean O'Malley, not a lot of people have tried to take him down, in all honesty, and that's just because of who he's fought thus far. Paiva's training at Team Alpha Male right now. He might want to take him down, and I know O'Malley is pretty good jiu-jitsu, but again, Paiva's a black belt. So I wouldn't be shocked if he tried to, if it's a stand-up affair, O'Malley wins in a close decision, not super close, but 29-28 decision across the board. Maybe a first round knockout, because Paiva does start pretty slow. However, if Paiva comes out and just takes him down, O'Malley's in some trouble. So this is off. Minus 315 is off, but I don't want to trust Paiva. The UFC wants to push O'Malley, and that's why they gave him Paiva. So the pick is going to be O'Malley. The bet, I don't hate the over at even money, but man, he's such a sniper, and Paiva's so hittable. Oh God, the pick is O'Malley. The bet would probably be O'Malley as well. I just wouldn't even play around with that. But I'd probably just pass on that one. Next fight of the night. Speaking of O'Malley, we have his enemy here at Cody Garbrandt, minus 140. Kai Kara France plus 110. The over-under, for whatever reason, wasn't showing on my site for whatever reason. But we'll start with Garbrandt here, the former bantamweight champion of the world. Shocking win over Dominic Cruz. Dom was hurt when he fought him, but hey, it is what it is. He came out and he did his thing. He has good striking. He's fast as hell. He packs some decent power. Problem is, he's a great hammer bad now. If he cracks you, you're probably going out. If you crack him, he's definitely going out. He does not have a good chin whatsoever. He has pretty good cardio. But this is his first weight cut down to 125, and he was hittable at 135, and these 25 pounders are faster, so he's probably going to get hit more. It's just a matter of that chin holds up. I don't know if he's sucking more weight and it's going to make his chin worse, or he's sucking down so the punches won't affect him as much. I don't know which one. And this is going to be really, really big to see, because there is a world where Kai Kara-France come out and just starches Cody Garbrandt because his chin is completely decimated at 25. There's also a chance Kai Kara-France comes out and hits him with the kitchen sink. Cody's still standing there. And if that's the case, and his power translates over, Kai Kara-France is fucked as well. So, no, Cody has good wrestling too. Also a team alpha male. There's a lot of team alpha males on this card. But yeah, Kai Kara-France, he's over. He's with City Kickboxing. He has pretty good striking. His jiu-jitsu is kind of poor, but he has 86% takedown defense, so it kind of balances out there. He has really high volume, and Cody Garbrandt does not. He has very low volume. I could also see a world where Kai Kara-France just outpoints him because he's too fast. I don't know. I'm really torn here. I want to bet Cody because he has more avenues to win, but Kai Kara-France, if he can stay on his feet, I don't know. He has such high volume. It's not like you go out there and just knock out Kai Kara-France easily. I mean, 22-9. The last time he's been knocked out, it was God. I don't even know the last time he was knocked out. I mean, Brendan Royval knocked him down and then choked him out with the guillotine. So, I mean, he wobbled him and took him out. Dude, he's never. Last time he got knocked out was 2012. That was the only time he's ever been knocked out. Yeesh. I don't know. This is a tough one. My mind is telling me Cody, but my gut is telling me Kai Kara-France might get this. I just don't like the value. Plus 110 is not enough value for this. If it was like plus 150 or higher, I'd bet Kai Kara-France without blinking an eye. Plus 110 is not a ton. Pick will be Cody. It's a dog or pass situation for me, just because I don't know how Cody's chin is going to be, and if he just gets outpointed, because Kai Kara-France is too fast, I can see that too. So, pick as Cody. The bet would be front. All right, then the next fight of the night is an interesting one. We have Santiago Ponzinibbio going up against Jeff Neal. This fight was a straight pick'em for a really long time, and then of course we had the Jeff Neal arrest. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 155, under 1.5 plus 125. And as of after the Thanksgiving arrest, Santiago is now a minus 130 favorite, Jeff Neal plus 105. So let's start with Jeff Neal, the aforementioned arrest. This dude, prior to any sort of issues legally, he has really good striking. It's just kind of low volume. He has really good power, but he is a little bit hittable. You can back him up a little bit, but Neal will mix in wrestling, which I like a lot. He's not a wrestler by nature, but he has pretty good timing, and he's super strong, so he'll just take you out there. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is not bad. It's sneaky good. You just don't see it much. And I do like that he has a 2-inch reach advantage here. I like that a lot. It's just every pro, there's a con. And right now, another con is that arrest, man. He was drinking a little bit on Thanksgiving, got a DUI, had guns in the back. I mean, the guns, as long as he didn't use it on anyone, whatever. That has nothing to do with your fighting. The fact that you're drinking a week or two before the fight camp is a little sketchy. But in retrospect, it's not like he was just out partying. It was a holiday. If he did his weight cut, if he was super responsible, had his weight cut, a little under control and decided he was going to have a few drinks, I totally get that. So I'm not going to sit here and chastise the guy over having some drinks on a holiday. It wasn't a random Tuesday in April or something. You know, it was Thanksgiving. So I'm going to cut him some slack. Um, when it comes to Santiago, I like Ponzinibbio a lot. I just liked him a lot more before all of his back injuries. I think his prime years were unfortunately lost due to injury. I think this guy could have been a thing. I think he could have been a really big contender, but I mean, he's 35 now, so he's kind of tailing off here with it being a lower weight class. I mean, we saw it when he came back against the Leech. He just came back like nothing ever happened and tried to strike like with his chin up in the air. He got clipped. I mean, it's not like he gets knocked out often. He's got knocked out by Lorenz Larkin, and Lorenz Larkin's good and hits hard. And he lost to Ryan LaFleur. That's it. He didn't get knocked out otherwise. So, yeah, I mean, he got knocked out in his prime as well, but Lorenz Larkin was good. He was sneaky good. Otherwise, you also look at his wins, and it might be a little tainted. I mean, Neal Magny is a good win. Knocking him out in the fourth round, that's a very good win. Mike Perry, not as good as a win as we thought. Gunnar Nelson, okay win. Taleb, not as good as a win as we thought. Zach Cummings, not as good as we thought. Court McGee, not as good as we thought. Like he kind of beating Sean Strickland's a very good win. So he's all over the place here. Overall was a good fighter. It's just, again, we're looking back at 2015, 2016. This was a while ago. 2021, Santiago's not the same guy. Barely beating Miguel Baeza, who may not be as good as we thought. I mean, Santiago's a great striker. He's just hittable, and he's a slow starter. He has 60% takedown defense, and that's key because we said Neal likes to mix in that wrestling from time to time. Santiago has pretty good power, but Neal doesn't exactly go out there and just get knocked out. He does slow down a lot in his fights, and his knockout against Kevin Holland was just him gassing out. So all in all, I think it's 50-50 on the feet. I just think Neal has wrestling in his back pocket. So I'll actually take Neal with the 2-inch reach advantage and wrestling in his back pocket. I'll take Neal to win. And I'll honestly, if the money keeps coming in on Santiago like this, and we see like plus 115, plus 120 on Neal because he had some cocktails on a holiday, I might end up betting him. I just don't like how low volume he is. I don't like that. I don't like betting fighters that are low volume. But Santiago's extremely hittable, so it may not take a million shots to put him out. So pick his Neal, and I will bet Neal, but I'm going to sit on it and wait until I get even more value on it. All right, and then this is going to take us to a fight that we don't even really have to talk about too much. We have Amanda Nunez, a minus 900 favorite, going up against Juliana Payne, plus 525. Over under for a women's fight set at 1.5. Over 1.5, minus 125. Under 1.5, minus 105. Let's start with Juliana Payne. Juliana Payne is a pretty decent wrestler. Her striking leaves a little to be desired, and she's really, really low volume. She is okay jiu-jitsu, but in retrospect, like it's when she's on top. I mean, Jermaine Durandamy choked her out. That's a little sketchy because Durandamy is a boxer. Valentina armbarred her. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Valentina's also a striker, but she's the flyweight goat. So, hey, it is what it is. Who are her other losses? Sarah Moras, not the greatest loss there. I have no idea who Deanna Bennett is, so that's not really a good loss. Otherwise, I mean, Ultimate Fighter season, 18 winner. She is, I don't know. She's a decent wrestler with okay jiu-jitsu, and she thinks the formula to beating Amanda Nunez is to get in her head through trash talk, wrestling her, and controlling her or tapping her out. Amanda Nunez, to go over her. I used to hate Amanda Nunez. She just bothered me for no reason. I don't know. Sometimes you just look at people and you just don't like them. I've had a change of heart. I think Amanda Nunez is a very, very nice young lady. I don't know what my deal was. I apologize to Amanda Nunez. And you know what? Amanda Nunez is most definitely the GOAT. I don't have to break down Amanda Nunez. We all know Amanda Nunez. We all know she's never going to lose again. Amanda Nunez by murder. then that takes us to the main event. We have Dustin Poirier going at minus 170 favorite, going up against Charles Oliveira plus 135, over 2.5 plus 110, under 2.5 minus 140. Let's start with the diamond, baby. This dude's the man. Super nice guy, high volume, super durable. 61% takedown defense is interesting. He has great striking, great cardio, sneaky good jiu-jitsu, but his wrestling is a little questionable. I mean, he got taken down by Dan Hooker like 4 times, and Dan Hooker is no wrestler by any means, so that does concern me a little. Originally, looking at fights before you like do the fight tape, I was like, oh well, he's probably going to be a pretty big favorite as we're going to have another champion dog money ordeal. And you know what? It did happen. And I saw it at minus 170. And I originally thought, you know what? That's not bad value on Justin. I thought Justin was going to be like minus 200, minus 220. But then I watched fight tape. And I don't know. His wrestling concerns me. It really does, especially how good Charles' wrestling has gotten as of late since he made the move up the lightweight from featherweight. Dustin also looked better going from featherweight to lightweight, but that Dan Hooker fight really, really scared me. Khabib, I mean, yeah, Khabib's the best wrestler ever, so he's going to take you down, but he kind of made it look easy. I mean, he went 7 of 8 for takedowns. It's not like he took him down a few times, or he took him down like once or twice and got it. Like, no, he took you down 7 times easily. So, I don't know. It really does concern me. And I think his recent run's a little overrated. Conor McGregor is not the old Conor McGregor. So, and he broke his leg the last one. So he didn't really have to do much. All he did was check a kick. So I don't know. Not a ton there. Conor McGregor came out and kind of won the first round against him in the rematch. But then DP took over and finished Conor. But that was also overrated Conor coming off a layoff. I don't know. Not as impressive. Dan Hooker, great fighter, but Dan Hooker whooped his ass for 3 rounds. If that wasn't a 5-round fight, Dustin Poirier would have lost that fight. I know he's a slow starter, but god damn it, took him a while to get going. But he came in the end. This is a 5-round fight too. Totally understand that. So all the credit in the world to him. Khabib's gonna Khabib you. What he's supposed to do. Max Holloway's a featherweight. Max Holloway, that was a super close fight. I don't know, man. Eddie Alvarez is good. Justin Gaethje's good. But those are wars. Like, yeah, he goes in and he gives exciting fights. He gives exciting fights, but I think we forget how close they are because they're so fun to watch. I'm not saying Dustin Poirier is overrated by any means. Dustin Poirier, if they fight 10 times out of 10 times, or if they fight, he probably wins like 6 out of 10 times. I don't know. I think it's kind of close, and I'm kind of leaning Oliveira because Charles Oliveira, he was decent, but he dyed his hair blonde. And when they are dyeing their hair blonde, they always get W's. And you know what? Charles Oliveira leveled up, and he's no longer, as they said on the Dogger past podcast, they don't call him Charles Oliveira, they call him Chucky O. That's what Paul Shaughnessy calls him, and that's what the blonde-haired Charles is. He's Chucky O. I think Dustin Poirier whoops the shit out of Charles Oliveira, but Chucky O might get him that ass, bro. Chucky O is good wrestling. Charles Oliveira, not good wrestling. Chucky O, sneaky good wrestling, like picking up and body slamming Tony Ferguson. Charles Oliveira, you can break and he'll quit when he rushes and we face some adversity. Chucky O, you can almost put him out in the first round and he's going to come back and knock you out in the second round. Charles Oliveira, it's a pretty suspect cardio. Chucky O looked perfectly fine going 3 hard rounds with Tony Ferguson at the end of the 3rd round. Wasn't really huffing or puffing. Charles Oliveira had good jiu-jitsu. Chucky O, if he grabs a hold of anything, he's taking it home. I mean, Charles Oliveira is pretty flashy striking. Chucky O, some phenomenal underrated Muay Thai. This dude, he goes forward and it's clean. He went from flashy to just clean, fresher than fresh, baby. I think this is a trap. I think we have a live dog and it's a champion. We saw Jan win as a champion dog. We saw we see this over and over again. So, I mean, Peter Yan ended up being a dog against Aljo and was whooping his ass. Like, whenever you kind of doubt the champ, they come out there and prove you wrong. So the pick is going to be Charles. You know what? No, the pick is going to be Dustin, but I'm putting money on fucking Chucky O. And it's a perfect hedge opportunity. If you want to throw Dustin into parlays, have at it. And with Charles being like plus 135, that's enough value. You just hedge, throw some money on Charles too, and that way you're guaranteed to come out a winner. So I will have parlays with Dustin just for that fact. And if any of them are surviving, I'm hedging with Chucky O, baby. So that's UFC 269. Again, a super good card, it's a really good card. There's not a lot of great betting opportunities. A few live dogs, a few people I like. Alex Perez is probably the only like major lock I like. I like some of the totals here a little more. So be very careful here. It's going to be a tricky card. This may be one where you have to play straight up and don't parlay. Otherwise, make sure you take a look over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, get what the actual official picks are. Make sure you watch those weigh-ins that can make some decisions on some of these close fights. And otherwise, just enjoy the fight card on Saturday. It's going to be a good one. Let's get paid, baby.